Hello everyone, welcome back to more AEW on TEW2020. You're here on the go-home week before Double or Nothing. We start off with Dark and Being the Elite. We have our Jacksons do their, the Young Bucks do their intro. After this we see Matt Hardy in a film room with Jeff Hardy and Top Flight. The Hardy Boys are going through some of their greatest moments, and of course they do, they scrub away the trademarks of whatever company that they were in at the time. But Matt points out the sorts of psychology that him and Jeff had in the ring, and Top Flight are taking notes. Jeff is making sure they're paying attention, but also kind of tell he's not exactly paying attention himself. Jeff eventually asks Matt to show the famous ladder swanton dive, which of course Matt does. And Jeff's like, alright, you see that? I want you guys to do that. And Matt Hardy's like, how about we don't do that and say we did, but Top Flight, they want to do that. So, Matt Hardy properly teaching the Top Flight now. I believe he is the mentor of Dante, right there. The Dark Order, they are doing their usual shenanigans, but at the end of it, brutally makes a warning that following Double or Nothing, he warns the stable that some of them will be fired for being a stain on their business. He doesn't say who is going to be fired, but everyone needs to prove themselves between now and then. I said I'm not actually booking these guys on Dark. Yeah, I am going to be making some roster cuts. I have some people that I'm just not using, so not even as jobbers. For example, well, I mean, I'm using Celestia Sparks as a jobber to Nyla Rose. Then Bandito and Dragon Lee make their entrance, but they're accompanied by an unfamiliar face. She introduces herself as Maria de Pasqua. She is the business force behind bringing Dragon Lee and Bandito together as a tag team known as the Revoluchas. That name is probably going to be a work in progress, but yes. De Pasqua, she is she's a very recent graduate from the Nightmare Factory, so she has some very nice mic skills. Not the best. 8 of the Dark Order actually has 89 mic. De Pasqua has high 60s, I think, so Bandito, Dragon Lee, there's usually the problem, Luchas aren't the best speakers all the time, but De Pasqua, she is going to be managing both Bandito and Dragon Lee, and, I mean, things went fine. No bad chemistry, no good chemistry. Revoluchas defeat TNT. Pretty easy work. After this, Garza defeats Shima. Andrew Everett defeats Fuego del Sol. The Young Bucks defeat the Von Erichs. The VIPs Club defeats Ava Everett and Brandy Lauren. Miro defeats Jonathan Gresham. Shotzi Blackheart defeats Leva Bates. And afterwards, she calls out for more people to help her, and I forgot to put Tanel and Deonna off screen, whatever. And she is answered by Chris Statlander. Statlander walks the ring, she offers a handshake to Shotzi, who gladly accepts the handshake, and now Shotzi is not fighting in a handicap match at Double or Nothing. And then we finish things off with Lance Archer defeating Christopher Daniels. Our show of Dynamite begins with the Vision defeating the Best Friends with the Powerbomb Meteora combo. And afterwards, the Motor City Machine Guns are seen backstage with Alex Shelley holding Matt Sydal's Ring of Honor World title. Shelley says, "You want to go through and mess with our titles? Well, I'm perfectly fine to mess with your Sydal. Jake, I don't care about your pet project, your Frankenstein's monster, your attempt to revive Lance Hoyt, your attempt to make Dallas relevant. Don't get me wrong, Lance is definitely some sort of monster, but that's all he is. A monster. Jake Roberts belongs in a retirement home. Lance Archer belongs in a storybook. And Matt Sydal deserves to have his ass kicked by people who actually know how to do tag team wrestling." So this is just real quick, just a response to what the Vision did last week, which was steal the Impact Tag Team titles. So now Shelley has taken the Ring of Honor World title that Matt Sydal holds. Lance Archer doesn't have any titles himself, but this feud is mainly between Shelley and Sydal. We do have Sabin and Lance Archer there to make this a tag team feud, but it is primarily between Shelley and Sydal. After this, Eddie Kingston defeats Eric Redbeard with a backdrop driver, which is impressive because Redbeard, pretty big dude. After this, Kingston grabs a mic. He calls for his music to cut off. Because, alright, we're finally talking, me and Tony Khan. See, I've been announced as a participant for the Casino Battle Royale, and I'm not just letting myself go down easily. Yeah, winning that Battle Royale and kicking MJF's scrawny entitled ass would be fun, but that's not why I'm excited. This is the time where we can really talk, where we can work together. John, it's a disgrace to see how far we've fallen, needing to be in a Battle Royale with 24 other men just to get your title shot. But that's not going to be a problem. I promise you, John, I won't hit you. I will help you out. I will make sure that you win. But we know from back in our days, back in how we came from, back where we came from, that we remember those who help us when we're down. We remember those who help us. You know that, John. Before Eddie can continue, Miro's music then begins to play, and the Bulgarian enters the stage. He comes to the stage with Mike. Says, you talk this talk about helping others while they're down, trying to paint yourself as this good figure. You're not, Eddie. You attacked me, you battered me, and tried to offer me as a sacrifice for Moxley. You're just someone who's worked through, you're someone who's worked through tougher companies, through glass, and tacks, and light tubes, so you know that forgiveness doesn't come easily. You already know that Moxley's in the Battle Royale, which means you know that I'm there too. I will throw you out. I will get my just retribution on you when, and before Miro can continue, Jon Moxley rushes out. He begins attacking Miro. Eddie Kingston, he leaves the ring. He goes in to help as well. Backstage officials pull them all apart, and all three of them are escorted out of the arena in... Now, they're all escorted out separately, just to make sure that this fighting doesn't continue. Of course, these three have had, mainly Eddie Kingston, who's been trying to get Jon Moxley onto his side. Miro has been, kind of offered as a sacrifice, because Miro had a feud with Jon Moxley going into Full Gear, I believe it was. Miro, he had, you know, in kayfabe, he had attacked Renee. Obviously, had to do some camera trickery so that she didn't actually get powerbombed through that table, but Eddie Kingston, he wants to get on Jon Moxley's good side again. You know, these two, they've been friends for a long time out on the indies, and so they want to beat, or at least Eddie wants to get back together with Moxley, also because I do kind of like that pair up in real life. That's why I have done some things, because they have happened in real life. Miro, not really. I don't like the gamer gimmick, but he's changing away from that, so it's fine. But that's besides the point. This one, Miro is trying to at least get some revenge on Eddie Kingston for beating him down and trying to offer him up as a present to Moxley. After this, Chris Jericho is making an announcement to the Inner Circle. He says, most of us have a match on Saturday. I have my match against Kota Ibushi, where I will prove that I am still the greatest, I am still the Demogorgon, I am still Le Champion. Hager, Ace, and Sammy, all three of you will be in the Battle Royale. We have 3 chances to win. We have almost a 1/7 of the participants. AJ is going to make sure that everything goes well back here, make sure that everything goes well in the Inner Circle while the rest of us are out. But then there's Santana and Ortiz. You've been the weak links of the Inner Circle. You've lost time and time again, and you're just making this look like jokes. But I'm giving you one last opportunity to prove yourself. I want you to make sure that no matter what, I win my match against Kota Ibushi. If I win, you guys can stay in the Inner Circle. But if not, then AJ pipes in. She says just because they're on a bad run of form doesn't mean that they are bad assets for the Inner Circle. I have something planned. Don't worry. Just give it one more week, Jericho. And Jericho's like, alright, fine. Whatever. I'll make my decision in the first week after Double or Nothing. So, finding out what this plan that AJ Mendez has in store, will definitely be a big thing to take note of. After this, Adam Page defeats the Blade in 11-13 with a turn the page. That was just kind of a warm-up match for Adam Page, just for the Battle Royale. And then we get a vignette playing. It does kind of start off the same as the one last week, but we do see that this is actually a Darby Allin vignette. Darby says, "Max, won't deny, you might be right about some of the things you said yesterday. Maybe I do think this is on me. Maybe I am trying to be like saying, maybe I am nothing in your eyes. But that's fine. Things aren't always rosy. Things aren't always a perfect situation for everyone involved. I don't expect them to be, and I know that they won't be. You were handed everything on a silver platter. You had the wealth. You didn't have to grow up knowing any hardships. You had everything that someone like me would have wanted all those years ago. But you know what, Max? I'm glad I didn't have everything you had. I'm glad I didn't grow up to be like you. I'm glad that I am who I am, that I have an appreciation for things other than myself. I know what you were getting at last week with your mocking me. Your message was more clear than your ego. You're trying to say that I'm insecure, that I do things just because I need the attention, and who knows, maybe I am deep down. But at least I'm willing to admit it. I will let everything bare to the world. I have taken scrapes, I've taken bruises, I've been knocked down time and time again. But all those scrapes, all those bruises, they've made me into someone more than you will ever be. You wanted to chastise me for my tattoos. You wanted to chastise me for not being this ideal child like I'm sure you were, if you were to ask yourself. But everything that I have on my body, every last inch of profile, every tattoo, every scar, every bruise, every broken bone I've ever had, marks me. It makes me remember who I am and where I came from. Nothing's over until you're dead. You're this prodigy of pro wrestling, sure, but no matter who wins this match, this won't be either of our last matches for that world title. Not unless we die. This promo, it's probably not the best thing I've wrote, but I'm actually very proud of it. I'm not a great promo writer. I have my certain niches, and, not the best with it, but I do think that this is, again, I am biased towards myself. I think this is a pretty good promo. I'm marking out for myself, yeah, whatever, I don't really care. I like this promo. I think it, it fits that character. It's a very, it definitely paints Darby as the babyface. He's, hey, Max, MJF, he's grown up, he's this VIP. He's this person who's always had the importance. He's always had everything. Well, Darby Allin is just some kid from Seattle. He's some kid who was homeless, who's this person who's trying to relate to the people, while simultaneously, he relates to people because he could be anyone. He could be, he could be that guy on the street that he could be that kid that, never really got along with anyone. He can be, anyone that's in the crowd. Everyone can kind of see, maybe not obviously exactly like Darby, but they can kind of see themselves into it. And Darby, he's admitting, hey, I'm not this perfect person like MJF is claiming to be. But he's still going to keep trying because that can-do attitude is pretty much, it's the main strength that Darby has. Yes, he is very good at the whole wrestle thing, but also his main strength is that he just doesn't die. He just doesn't give up. He just keeps fighting and fighting and fighting, and he will never stop fighting. So, that's kind of the gist of that promo. And that angle, really. After this, Ashley Flair defeats Awesome Kong with a figure 4. And then, after her entrance, so, while she was entering, Ashley Flair had the Queen's Court wait at the entrance of the ramp. They're making sure that no one comes by to interrupt this match between her and Awesome Kong. About a minute before the finish, Nyla Rose arrives. She takes out all 3 members of the Queen's Court. And then, Flair, she gets her victory. She's finished submitting Awesome Kong. And Nyla Rose is there. She starts attacking Flair right away. Nyla this brawl goes on for a decent bit of time, but eventually it does end with a powerbomb. Nyla Rose waits for Ashley Flair to get up and then delivers a spear. And throughout this entire beatdown, Vicky Guerrero's kind of almost comically dragging the Queen's Court into the ring, just laying them out everywhere. After the spear, Nyla Rose drags Ashley Flair into the middle of the ring, puts the foot on the chest, and does the mock pin. Maybe even Vicky Guerrero will, do a pinfall, pin count, just because, I don't know. So, it is, admittedly, there are some goofy moments with this, but it is mainly with Vicky Guerrero, who definitely is more of a goofy character. But I still think it gets the point across that Nyla Rose, despite me having booked her absolutely horribly, is still quite the menace. After this, Renee Paquette is backstage asking DDP about Jeff Hardy's condition, and Diamond Dallas Page just says, we're not really certain. At this point, it's basically a coin flip for whether or not there will be a TNT title match at Double or Nothing. We will for sure have an announcement on Jeff's condition by Friday morning. After this, the announcers do go over the card and announce two members of the Casino Battle Royale, that being Andrew Everett and Donovan Dijak. Kota Ibushi, they also promote the rest of the matches that we have in the card. We have Chris Jericho versus Kota Ibushi to prove who is the best between them. We have Kana versus Hikaru Shida versus Mayu Iwatani versus Kairi Hojo for the Women's Championship. We have MJF versus Darby Allin for the World Championship. We potentially have Pac versus Jeff Hardy for the TNT title. We have Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn, the Private Party, against FTR, Dex Harwood and Cash Wheeler. We have the Casino Battle Royale. We have Nyla Rose versus Charlotte Flair. We have Jordan Grace and Brandy Rhodes against Tenille Dashwood and Deonna Purrazzo, the VIPs Club. And then we also have Shotzi Blackheart and Chris Statlander against... Shotzi and Chris are against Tenille and Deonna. And then Grace and Brandy are against Anna Jay and Ty Conti. I believe that's it for the matches. I might be missing one. All of that I was just going off of what I remembered on the top of my head. After this, we do actually just have a nice little friendly bout between them, and, that's actually very reasonable. All of them basically score the same thing. They're all very similar in pop, they're all very similar, they're all very good in-ring workers. I think it's Shida has 44 pop, Kairi has 43, Mayu has 42. So they're all very close in popularity, very close ratings, very nice. I wish that segment got a little bit higher. It would have been nice. Really, inconsistency for Mayu. Oh well. I wish that it could be a little bit better, but that's still a very fine match. Then afterwards, after that friendly three-way, Kana's music plays and she walks onto the stage. She starts mocking the other three, the challengers, that even if they all worked together, they still couldn't beat Kana in a handicap match. The three of them are like, well, I mean, why don't we prove that that's wrong? And they rush out to chase Kana, and Kana's like, oh shit, and just kind of runs off. Mayu ends up catching up with Kana. The three of them beat down the women's champ for a bit before Shida grabs the title. She holds it out. Kairi and Mayu put their hands on that as well. They're like, hey, no matter who wins this, between us three, it's going to be an even fight. We will respect whichever one of us wins. So, just a nice show of good faith before setting the title down next to Kana, because Kana is still technically the champion. And in our main event, Pac defeats Cody Rhodes with a shooting star leg drop. Cody kinda sucks, but Pac doing amazing. Then afterwards, Pac is handed the mic after his victory over Cody, and Pac says, time's ticking, Jeff Hardy. Time for you to be cleared from an unfortunate injury, time for your career, hell, even time on this show. Every second that ticks while you're unable to move, writhing in pain, is another second that I am the TNT champion, that I am recognized as one of the best wrestlers in the world. Now, I'm not just some ex-Fed retiree like you are. But maybe I was a bit too showy, maybe I was a bit too harsh. So I think it's time we did something proper. We did something respectful for a legend like Jeff Hardy. The Hit Squad then bringing a picture of Jeff Hardy with flowers on, like you would see at a funeral. Dijak and Pillman bring in a wooden box. They sort of act as a coffin. They don't want to bring in an actual coffin, because that's too Undertaker. But then they all do start with this mock funeral. Each one of them, you know, they make fun of Jeff Hardy. So maybe you have something like, you know, Homer Jr.'s like, oh, I remember watching him when I was growing up. He was such an inspiration to me, and it's so sad that his career was killed in such an unfortunate way. Obviously, they're being very over the top, being very hammy about it. But eventually, while they're doing this, while they're having fun with this, while they're taking the piss out of the situation, Jeff Hardy, Ellie Hill, Devil Kingo, Dante Martin, and Darius Martin all get around the ring, and they eventually ambush Brutality Inc. And then the heels do leave, and the show, our go-home show, ends with Jeff Hardy tearing down his own memorial photo. Better show than last week, still not great. 73 surprising. I think that was mainly carried by our opener and our main, but whatever. Our next show is Double or Nothing, and I'm very excited for that. So, we'll see you in a little bit.